Hey there, Nation, and welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander Cheapskate, and we are back in another episode of Way of the Underhive. This series is dedicated to helping brand new players to Necromunda build their starting rosters and learn more about the game mechanics of their favorite gangs. And on this episode, we will be discussing playing a Criminal Organization Outcast Gang in the Aranthian Succession. In this video, we'll discuss the positive and negative aspects of playing in the Aranthian Succession, the impact the campaign setting has on Criminal Organization Outcast Gangs. We'll discuss alliances, brutes, hanger-ons, and hired guns, and most importantly, provide you a 2,400 point starting roster that you can use in your very first campaign. We'll also talk about how to use this gang and the gang overview and how to play on the tabletop, and also talk about how you should develop this campaign as this gang as your campaign develops as well. And of course, as always, provide critical information that you can use in your future games of Necromunda as well. Now, because this video is a little bit more of a deeper dive, I will put timestamps in the description box down below so that way you can click to the part that is most interesting to you. So when it comes to the Criminal Organization Outcast Gang, what I want to ask is, do you want to live a life of crime? Do you want to run the streets of the Underhive and the settlements at the Ashways? And do you want to scream all the Scarface and mobster lines that you want to from your favorite films? Well, this gang is designed specifically for you. So that being said, let's go and talk about playing a Criminal Outcast Gang by starting with the positive and negative aspects of playing in the Aranthian Succession. Now, when it comes to the Aranthian Succession, one of the biggest positives is that you get anywhere between 2,000 to 2,400 points in order to create your gang. If you plan on staying in the Underhive and not venturing out into the Ashways, you get 2,000 credits to start your gang. And if you plan on going into the Ashways, you get 2,400 credits. Those 400 extra credits should be dedicated to vehicles as well as mounted fighters. Now, when people look at that new price point with the number of credits you have to build your gang, a lot of players get the misconception that what you should do is double the size of your gang like you normally can. And the reason why is because in the Aranthian Succession you can take twice as many champions, twice as many fighters and prospects as you normally would. However, though, that's actually an incorrect assumption. What you really should go for is a quality build over a quantity build. So what I'm talking about here in this example is when you purchase your fighters, use the normal size gang that you usually would do, but equip them with the best weapons possible. Also equip them with war gear that you would never usually start a campaign with. Things like photo goggles, stim slug stashes, respirators, drop rigs, all the suspensors for heavy weapons, all the equipment that you would normally not buy at the beginning of a campaign, you can now afford to do so because of the increased point value. At the same time, if you are going out into the Ashways, also fully up your vehicles as well. Get your really good vehicle crews, equip them with a really great weapons upgrade that they might need, as well as any war gear those vehicles will need in order to be successful in the Ashways as well. And that's probably the biggest positive of playing in the Aranthian Succession. Unfortunately, there's also some negatives of playing in the Aranthian Succession campaign, and the first one being, first and foremost, the balance bandwagon. Unfortunately, Games Workshop has not released all the materials associated with the Aranthian Succession, so because of that, some gangs are getting upgrades before other gangs are, and some gangs haven't received any upgrades whatsoever. So because of that, if you are playing players who don't have any upgrades yet from the Aranthian Succession, some of them might be immature about it and not want to play, or throw a hissy fit, or whatever the case may be about that. So just be aware that immaturity might be out there, so if you do run into it, of course, just deal with it the best way you can with the utmost respect, if possible. Another negative about the Aranthian Succession too is that it's very narrative heavy. So there are very specific gangs and very specific characters that play in these campaign settings. So if you're not really into narrative gaming, this might not be the campaign for you, so keep that in mind when you proceed with this. So now that we're done talking about the positive and negative aspects of the Aranthian Succession, let's talk about exactly how Criminal Organization Outcast Gangs are directly impacted by this campaign. Alright, so let's talk about exactly how Criminal Outcast Gangs specifically are basically set up in the Aranthian Succession. When you play a Criminal Organization Outcast Gang, you have to choose your syndicate very carefully. Now, granted, you could choose any of the syndicates that you have from the Book of Judgment to make your Outcast Gang with, but the reason why I say you have to choose your syndicate carefully is because whatever weapons and war gear that delegation for that syndicate has, that's what you can purchase for your gangs, as well as the normal stuff that you normally have as well. So regardless of rarity or illegality of the item, you can equip those things. For example, let's say you're playing a Cold Trader Outcast Gang. The Cold Trader character has access to a sling gun, and a sling gun, of course, is a Xenos weapon. Now, normally you couldn't purchase it at the start of a campaign because it's an illegal item that you have to buy on the black market. But because you are a Cold Trader Outcast Gang, you could equip all your fighters with that weapon if you so choose, regardless of its rarity or legality, because you're a member of that criminal organization. Well, you used to be a member of that criminal organization anyways. So because of that, understanding that that's the options you can add to your gang already is going to be very powerful for you, so keep that in mind when you choose your organization. And another reason why you want to choose your organization very carefully is because it has a major impact on what alliances you can take. And since we're on that topic of alliances, let's go on and talk about that next. Alliances for a Criminal Organization Outcast Gang is extremely limited, and the reason why is because the only allies you can take is whatever criminal organization you belong to. So going back to my Cold Trader Outcast Gang example, if you decide to play a Cold Trader Outcast Gang, the only alliance you can make is with the Cold Traders. So keep that in mind when you're picking whatever criminal syndicate you want to represent in your campaign. Now the big question that's going to pop up for you is that do you want to play a delegation gang or not play a delegation gang? Now for those of you guys who are unfamiliar with that is, the delegation gang is the core group of fighters that your alliance would normally supply you. So go back to my Cold Trader for example. Normally when you have a Cold Trader, you have a Cold Trader as well as a bosun. You also have 2 Voidborn scum. If you decide to play a delegation gang, what that means is that those 4 fighters form the core of your gang with all their weapons and equipment and everything else, and then of course you just outfit the rest of your gang with other outcast champions as well as outcast hive scum and equip them until you get your maximum amount of points. So the question that you have to keep in mind is that if you decide to go with a delegation gang using that core delegation to create the basis of your gang, just realize that you will not be able to take the same delegation from your alliance. So you're not going to be able to double up on Cold Traders and Void Scum as well as bosuns. Personally, I think you should be allowed to do so. That's just my personal thing. But as the rules are written right now, you can't do so. So keep that in mind, alright? So if you plan on playing a Cold Trader Outcast gang, but you want the Cold Trader delegation to be in your gang, you have a very difficult choice to make. You can either take that delegation and not accept any alliance help at all for the rest of the campaign, or you could just fill your fighters with Dramatis Personae as well as normal outcast fighters and then take a Cold Trader delegation with you. So that's the thing you got to remember about that, so just keep that in mind when it comes to your alliances. Now another big impact for your gang is determining what kind of brutes, hanger-ons, as well as hired guns you can take on. Now obviously the road doc is the first and foremost choice for obvious reasons. They can really help out your fighters, especially if they suffer a critical injury, especially during the medical escort mission. They can actually save your fighters. So road doc is usually the #1 go-to for hanger-ons that most gangs will recruit before the campaign even starts. But with that said, as the campaign develops, you might want to get into propagandists as well as agitators. Both of them are really good for reputation gain as well as recruitment, which is kind of hard for outcast gangs to do. So that's really going to help you out to do that. And plus with the Twins of Two Tunnels Apocrypha Necromunda supplement that was released earlier this year, they actually have some bonus actions they can do to actually help out your fighters on the tabletop in battles as well. So that part is kind of nice. Now the other thing you got to remember is because you're a criminal organization, the only type of brutes and hanger-ons and hired guns you can recruit are outlaws. So you can only hire outlaw brutes, outlaw hanger-ons, as well as outlaw hired guns. Now it is kind of limited because there's not that many outlaws out there that you can choose from, and not very many outlaws are of quality, but you could actually make some really interesting things with your gang, especially if you choose the right brutes, hanger-ons, and hired guns later on as the campaign develops. So now that we're done talking about the brutes, hanger-ons, and hired guns, let's go ahead and talk about your starting roster. Alright, so let's talk about your Criminal Organization Outcast Gang for Necromunda in the Aranthian Succession, and this gang roster is rated at 2,400 credits or 2,400 points. You're going to play a Fallen Houses Outcast Gang. Now the reason why we're doing this is that way you get the Fallen Houses delegation. Your leader is going to be Lady Creta of the Dramatis Personae. She's going to be the leader of your gang. She's going to cost you 330 credits. She's going to be a Mastermind archetype. She automatically comes with the Armor Weave Cloak as well as a Fractor Field, as well as a Mastercrafted Power Saber, but you're going to purchase an additional Mastercrafted Hotshot Last Pistol and upgrade the Mastercrafted Last Pistol she already has with the Hotshot Power Pack, and that's where your extra costs are coming into. Now she automatically comes with photo goggles as well because she has Sinistis as well as Dexterous, so she doesn't have to worry about that, as well as having 360-degree field of vision. She comes with the Dodge skill as well as Iron Will, so you take -1 to all bottle roll test, which is going to be really helpful. She also has the parry skill, so that way she can parry even if she doesn't use her swords in close combat. And you're going to give her the Medicaid skill with her Mastermind archetype because she does have access to Savant. And you're going to do that so that way you can patch up fighters on the battlefield as it happens. And with her high intelligence score, it should really help you out do that. She also has the Heir of the Outland special rule, which is going to be really helpful. And we already talked about her 2 Service Skulls, Sinistis as well as Dexterous, giving her that 360-degree point of view as well as photo goggles. After that, you're going to have 4 Outcast champions in this gang, and you're allowed allowed to do so because the Aranthian Succession allows you to double up on champions. Champion number 1 is going to cost you 250 credits. This fighter's going to have the Survivor archetype, as well as armored undersuit with mesh armor, so that way they have that 4-up armor save. They're going to be armed with a stub gun, plasma combat pistol, so that way they can use that for shooting attacks with dum-dum rounds, so that way they have the strength 4 attack from the stub gun. They're also packing a thunder hammer, as well as photo goggles and nerves of steel. Now you might be thinking, why are they packing a thunder hammer for? And the reason why is because since you are a rebel Fallen House Outcast gang, you can take the weapons from those delegations, and one of those being a power hammer, which is very powerful on that one. And you're giving him nerves of steel because he's going to be shot at quite a bit, so you need nerves of steel to pass his cool test, so that way he can escape pinning. Now, Outcast Champion number 2 is going to cost you 215 credits. This fighter's got the Gunslinger archetype, and they have armored undersuit with mesh armor for that 4-up armor save. You're also equipping them with twin master-crafted hotshot last pistols. That way they can get 1 reroll per game if they miss, and hotshot last pistols are just awesome. You're giving them photo goggles so they can see in the dark, as well as the gunfighter skill, so that way they don't have to suffer that -1 hit against and shooting with those 2 pistols. Outcast Champion number 3 is going to cost you 180 credits. They have the Gunslinger archetype as well. They have an armored undersuit as well as mesh armor for that 4-up armor save, and you're equipped this fighter with a long rifle with infrasight, so that way they can get that shoot in the darkness, as well as take away 1 hit for in case your enemy's in partial cover. And you're going to give them a last pistol for a backup weapon, as well as fast shot, so that way they can shoot this gun twice per activation. And then finally, Outcast Champion number 4 is going to cost 210 credits. This character's got the Mastermind archetype as well. They're going to have armored undersuit and mesh armor, giving them 4-up armor save, and they're equipped with a grenade launcher with frag and crack grenades, as well as a last pistol for a backup weapon. They have photo goggles so they can see in the dark, and you're giving them the Overwatch skills, so that way they can interrupt enemy activations with that grenade launcher, which is all kinds of hilarious when it happens. Now let's talk about your guys' Outcast Hive Scum. You're going to have 4 Outcast Hive Scum in this gang. Outcast Hive Scum number 1 and 2 are equipped exactly the same. Both will cost you 130 credits apiece. Both will be equipped with mesh armor for that 5-up armor save. Both will have last guns with telescopic sights, so they get that bonus to hit at long ranges when they are aiming. They also have last pistols for backup weapons, as well as photo goggles so they can see in the dark. After that, Outcast Hive Scum number 3 and 4 are going to cost you 150 credits apiece. Both will have mesh armor with chain swords and last pistols, and blasting charges for that 5-inch blast template at strength 5 and damage 2, and they will also be equipped with photo goggles so they can see in the dark. After that, you're going to have 2 Hive Scum. Hive Scum race number 1 and 2. Both will cost 305 credits apiece. Both have photo goggles. Both will be driving Ridge Runners with crash cages, redundant drive systems, and they will be equipped with mining lasers for that high strength attack with really good AP against your enemies' vehicles, as well as hardened targets. And then finally, your hang-around will be a Rogue Doc. It's going to cost you 50 credits for that. That character has a last pistol, a Medicae kit, as well as a Medicae skill. Now, if your campaign does allow alliances, your criminal alliance is automatically going to be the Fallen Houses, since you're a Fallen Houses Outcast gang. And with that being said, you have some special rules attached to that. You do have the Rebellion special rule, which means you earn D6 times 10 credits for fighting against law-abiding gangs, and 2d6 time credits for fighting against Merchant Guild, Noble Houses, or Enforcers. But you only get those credits if you win. So this game is going to be able to generate credits very, very quickly as the campaign develops. At the same time, you also have your Rebel Lord Alliance delegation that can help you out. But there are some drawbacks. You do have For the Cause, which means you must accept challenges from Enforcers or Noble Houses or Merchant Guilds, so keep that in mind. And you also have Ancient Oaths, which means that you must pay a tax of D3 times 10 credits for the alliance that you have, which is not bad all that considering, especially since you'll be able to generate credits very quickly. Now, your delegation from the Fallen Houses will be a Rebel Lord. You're equipped as Rebel Lord with light carapace armor as well as a refractor field. You're giving this fighter 4 digital lasers, so that way they get that knockback attack, as well as a bolt pistol and thunder hammer for close combat attacks. You're giving them the spring up skill, so that way they can take that 3+ initiative to escape pinning, as well as rain of blows, so that way their fight actions are considered simple actions, so that way they can fight twice. And this is the list that you're going to use for your 2,400 point Criminal Organization Outcast Gang. So let's talk about the game overview, exactly how to use this gang on the tabletop. You will have 2 fire teams in this gang. Assault Fire Team number 1 will be mounted with Scum Racer number 1. It will consist of Lady Credo, Outcast Champion number 1 and 2, Outcast Scum number 3, and Outcast Hive Scum number 4, as well as your Rebel Lord. This is going to be your close combat Assault Fire Team. Your Support Fire Team will be mounted with Scum Racer number 2, And now that vehicle will be Outcast Champion number 3, Outcast Champion number 4, Outcast Hive Scum number 1, and Outcast Hive Scum number 2. Now both Scum Racers head towards the enemy as quickly as possible, and they will support fire team takes point, dismounting from the Ridge Runner and suppressing the enemy with accurate long rifle fire, grenade launcher fire, as well as last gun fire as well. Don't forget, you also have the mining laser from the Scum Racer that could also help you out on your Ridge Runner. Now while that's happening, the assault fire team drive towards the enemy's exposed flank, which one is ever easiest for you. From there, they dismount from their vehicle and assault the enemy's flank, finishing them in close combat. They have close quarters battle skills with this assault fire team, with having hot-shot las pistols, blasting charges, chain swords, thunder hammers, bolt pistols, all kinds of seem to deal with the opposition. And at the same time, your Scum Racer also still has that mining laser that could also help support your fire team as well. Now while the fire teams are engaged, have your Scum Racers then target high value targets as well as enemy vehicles from their mining lasers with those really high strength, high damage, as well as high AP. You're going to be able to cut through most armor, destroy most vehicles, and also take out a lot of enemy fighters as well. And this is how you would use this gang on the tabletop in your games of Necromunda. So let's talk about your gang's development as your campaign progresses. As the campaign develops, purchase hotshot last packs for all the last weapons in this game to create reliable strength for firepower. You have a lot of last pistols and a lot of last guns in this group, so give them all hotshot power packs. This could be extremely nice. Now as for your hanger-ons, I would suggest you recruit a propagandist as well as an agitator to help with reputation gang, also helping out with your recruitment as well. Now with your Fallen House Alliance, you should be able to generate income very quickly, so don't be afraid to recruit outlaw hired guns and around your forces. A scrap code ambot, for example, would be really cool to use as well as using a warp horror if you want to go that way as well, if you decide to become a chaos corrupted gang, which is an option for you if you want to. After all, you're outcasts, so you don't necessarily need to play by the laws of the Underhive when it comes to that sort of thing. And that pretty much is the gang development that we would suggest for this gang list. So there you have it. In conclusion, the Aranthian Succession is a really fun way to make really powerful gangs. With that 2,000 to 2,400 credit increase, there's a lot of things you can do with a lot of interesting builds, and a lot of creativity can actually be used to create these gang rosters in the campaign setting. I'm actually kind of excited to see exactly what kind of combos players actually come up with, because it's going to only add some more variety and diversity to the game, which is only going to make it better. Now the thing you also got to remember too is that the Aranthian Succession is still ongoing, which means that new vehicles, fighters, and rules will be updated all the time to represent that Aranthian Succession. So anything new that ends up being dropped from Games Workshop, be sure to check out this channel, because we'll be talking about those items and talking about how you can use them in your games as well. So that's good for this one, you guys. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is invaluable to us as always. Also check us out on social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, as well as blogger.com if you want to keep up to date with our current hobby projects and behind the scenes photos about what's going on this channel. That's good for you guys. I am Commander Cheapskate. I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace out and stay classy.